Here in New York's Madison Square Garden before a packed house of more than 18,000 people. All come for an in-person look at the teenage Romanian marvel. Where Olga Korbut made crowd contact with a smile, Nadia captures their attention, her unsmiling intensity, her total concentration, and of course with the perfection of her performance. Today you see Nadia Comaneci in a special exhibition performance at Madison Square Garden. It's bound to stir memories of Montreal. Or basketball or a championship fight, but women's gymnastics, a sports phenomenon of the 1970s. And there warming up is the young lady they've all come to watch. Her name, of course, Nadia Comaneci. Good afternoon. I'm Jim McKay speaking to you from Madison Square Garden. You know, 15 years ago, many Americans still had a rather narrow nationalistic viewpoint on sport. We had our native sports, our baseball, basketball, and football, and we loved them, and that was enough for us. We had our native heroes, and they were plenty for us to worry about and to idolize. All that's changed, however. In recent years, we've seen Americans come to love and, yes, to idolize French and Austrian ski racers, Russian weightlifters, and particularly tiny foreign gymnasts, whom we tend to call by their first name, especially if it's Olga or Nadia. Olga, of course, came first, and now it's Nadia Comaneci. And it is her name alone, to be honest, that has actually filled Madison Square Garden in New York to its capacity on this day. A day, by the way, featuring a driving rainstorm outside the arena. But the people have come anyway. It's a tribute to Nadia. And here she is today, Nadia, a famous Olympic champion. But this was Nadia at age 13. The first time our Wide World of Sports cameras found her in the European Ladies Championships of 1975 in Norway. On that occasion, Kathy Rigby Mason was impressed.
Her concentration is just tremendous, especially for her age and the length of time that she has been in international competition. She works much better with her arm movements here than even on the floor exercise. She's much smoother. It probably is just the style she's using. 2 back handsprings in a row. That's a very blind move. If you're off just slightly on that, boy, you could just miss altogether. She is working better than I've seen her even in the European national. Double twisting back flip.
Less than a year later, Nadia first came to Madison Square Garden. It was a few months before the Olympics in the American Cup competition. She served notice that she was ready for Montreal. Experts on the scene were even more impressed than before with the spectacular nature of her tumbling. It was in this competition that we first saw Nadia receive a perfect mark of 10. It proved to be a prophecy of what would happen at the Olympics. Remember that night when Kathy and Chris Schenkel reported?
This could be the highlight of the compulsory event. She is one of the technically strongest, best gymnasts that I've ever seen. Watch this. Beautiful rhythm, right to a handstand. Oh, look at that amplitude. Ooh. She is really moving well. Another handstand. Look at that, right to the handstand. Gorgeous routine, beautiful, and the crowd loves it. A perfect 10. That is the first time. The first time I have ever seen that in Olympic competition, a perfect 10.
Oh, now they begin to stand. Here's the forum. This is the first day of competition.
Oh, this is just a skill set. Such a performance. Look at how excited she is. I've never seen such emotion on her face.
Let's bring in now our expert on the women's gymnastics sport, Kathy Rigby Mason. You know, it seems to me, Kathy, that this is a difficult time, or certainly can be, for Nadia. The glories of the Olympics are behind her. Another World Championships and another Olympics are still pretty far away. Is it hard to keep your career on that upward curve still at age 15?
Oh, definitely. With the pressure and the fatigue of travel, it's hard to not let those distractions bother you. However, she hasn't changed her routines much, but she is gaining a kind of elegance and maturity that we saw with Olga and with Ludmila Teresheva.
Well, there she is, warming up for the event we'll see in a minute, the balance beam. Well, that was the voice of our old friend Gordon Maddox working the public address microphone here, introducing Nadia and setting off that idolatrous roar. Here she is approaching the balance beam, and you will be hearing that musical accompaniment in the background because this is an exhibition performance. In competition, this is done in silence, but there's music here.
The pressure is so different here than in competition. In competition, you have 4 judges watching you and deducting, looking for deductions every time you make a move. Here, the crowd is just expecting wonderful things. Nice aerial. Every ounce of strength is used in each move. From the leaps to the most difficult acrobatic movements. Total concentration. You can see she's getting ready for a more difficult move. Aerial cartwheel right into a back handspring. Perfectly straight, right on top of that balance beam.
The difference in Nadia's height and her build is quite evident here, too, isn't it?
It sure is, and sometimes you'll notice that you'll have a little bit of trouble just because the timing is so different.
She's actually grown a couple of inches and some 15 pounds since the Olympics, but it's not extra weight, really, is it? It's just
No, just mainly the height. Right, getting older, more mature, body changes. Once again, perfectly straight on those back handsprings, getting ready for a dismount. Layout, nice height, good landing.
Nadia Comaneci at the Garden. Let's take a look at that one now in slow motion.
On this move, the press handstand, if the shoulders, the hips, and the feet aren't in a straight line, rather than balance, it takes almost all muscle, much more strength involved. Exhibition like this, it's a good time for the gymnast to work on more height on each movement, such as this back handspring. Going for things just a little bit harder.
Now, does Nadia's added height make all of these movements more difficult or some more than others?
I think it changes the timing mostly, Jim. Not so much, you don't use too much more strength. You know, watching the feet on the balance beam, as we just saw, it's important to note that the placement of the foot right in the center of the beam is so important. Otherwise, it becomes much riskier. Legs should be in a complete split. No hesitation before these back handsprings.
Do the lighting arrangements in different arenas present a special problem?
Only if they're glaring in the eye. These are so far away that it doesn't really matter. Can you see that the torso of her body is right above the balance beam? It never does it go from one side to the other. It has to stay directly on top of the beam. And the dismount has to be as great in difficulty as the mount at the beginning.
In a minute, we'll have a backstage visit with Nadia Comaneci. Nadia Comaneci, a special slow-motion study made by ABC's Robert Rieger at the Montreal Olympics. Let's watch Nadia then as she watches herself and hears for the first time the haunting music that accompanied Robert Rieger's coverage over at the games and that today is known as Nadia's theme. Nadia Comaneci, a 15-year-old already able to experience nostalgia for earlier triumphs, watching herself at Montreal. Kathy Rigby Mason talked to Nadia backstage. In the interest of continuity, you'll hear the translation only of the answers, not the questions.
Nadia, when you're watching yourself on the monitor and you're watching so closely, what's going through your mind?
Mă gândesc la ceea ce am de făcut. Mă gândesc la ceea ce am făcut și dacă am greșit sau dacă mă perfecționez pentru mai târziu.
I'm thinking about what I've done so far, if I've done all right, and how can I achieve a better and more perfect performance.
What has your training program been like? How many hours a day do you work out now?
3-4 ore pe zi.
I work out 3 or 4 hours a day.
I know that for quite a few gymnasts, ballet training is a very important part of their daily schedule. And I was wondering, I've heard that Nadia has never taken ballet, and I wondered if she thought it would have been an advantage if she had, and if not, why?
Noi facem artistică. Facem artistică.
We train an artistic body movement.
To get on a different subject, what have your impressions been of the United States since you've been here before? And I don't think we've ever asked you that.
Da, am mai fost o dată și mi-a plăcut foarte mult.
Yes, I've been here before, and I like it very much.
What's your favorite part?
Disneyland.
We're going to be going back from...
We're back again at Madison Square Garden in New York, watching one of the world's most famous athletes, Nadia Comaneci of Romania, in special exhibition performance. This is Jim McKay with Kathy Rigby Mason, our expert on the sport. And as she prepares for the uneven bars, let's go back and take a slow-motion look at the vault.
What makes Nadia stand out above all the others on this event is the tremendous off-flight she gets. And naturally, this comes from the very first part. Fast timing off the board. She reaches the handstand just at the right moment. Her hips drive to the ceiling. And a good tight tuck position. Very powerful on this on-flight. Hits the handstand right on top of the board. Off it quickly. Position. She stretches out right here. Shoulders in front of the legs, in front of the knees. And a good landing.
Well, that was earlier in the vault. Now she approaches the uneven parallel bars. This, of course, was the event in which she received her first perfect mark of 10 in the Olympics at Montreal.
Nadia's always done this routine with such ease. I think the added height, however, has hurt her a little bit on this event. Her timing has been off slightly, but she's moving well here. You'll see on this stomach whip from the handstand, she really uses that bottom bar. She pikes tightly right up, and here she gets ready for a dismount. Feet stay on. Good landing.
All right. Her now familiar little jog to the sidelines. And they're all here. Everybody who can get into Madison Square Garden.
You know, Jim, sometimes the exercise goes by so quickly you don't really get to see what goes on and how the timing is so important. You'll see that flexibility is also very important on the uneven bars. Right there's a tight pike position. Watch where her shoulders are on this move that she was the first to do, as a matter of fact. Shoulders over the bar. She pushes away. Boy, if your timing is off on that in the least, it could be disastrous. Watch how her shoulders go over the bar, over the low bar. Her hips will rise right in between the bar. At the right moment, she lets go and a complete flip. And as you can see, if she misses that top bar, she's right on her back.
Are those body changes she's experienced since Montreal any more or less of a problem in this event than in the others?
Yes, because here the strength is hampered a little bit. She is a little heavier and doesn't have as much muscle to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, Jim, on her dismount, she has left out what's called a flange. It's two circles around the bar to a handstand. She goes instead directly to her dismount.
So that you feel that the added height and weight has had an effect on her overall performance then?
Yes, I do. You'll notice on this dismount that her feet have to rise above that bar in order to give her enough height to complete that 1.5 circles with a half twist.
Nadia Comaneci. In a minute, we'll be seeing her in the free exercises. That should be beautiful. Yet another tumultuous ovation from her more than 18,000 fans gathered here in the garden as she prepares for the free exercises.
For many gymnasts, especially the Russians, use a great deal of ballet and dramatic moves in their floor exercise. Nadia is very stoic and uses her tumbling, especially her tumbling, which is her strongest point. You know, Jim, every tumbling run, there's about 3 in each exercise. It's like doing a 100-yard dash and running it as fast as you can. By the end of the routine, you're pretty tired.
So she stepped out of the margin there. Of course, that doesn't count in an exhibition, but it would in competition, right?
Right, it does in competition, but not here. Just gives her a little extra run.
Now, you say the tumbling runs are like a 100-yard dash. For that reason, do you have to program in little rest periods moves?
Yes, you do. You need a few rest moves to catch your breath, and that's when you see the change of pace like you saw just there. But you're tight at all times. Every muscle is flexed and stretched. Even to the point that each time her foot steps off the mat, it's pointed very hard. There's a rest.
All right. She really gathers more new fans, it seems, each time she performs. When she first came along, some of the youngsters didn't quite understand her because Olga had made such immediate contact with the crowd. Nadia was more serious, but now they say they love Olga and Nadia, as it says on the T-shirt.
I remember going to my first exhibition given by the Japanese women gymnasts who were #1 at the time, and really being inspired and excited and going back into the gym and putting my all into my workouts.
Well, they're here from all over the eastern seaboard really today. But look at her drinking it all in with her eyes. She'll remember this day a long time. And so will they. Not only the kids who are here, though, well, as you can see from this shot, they're fans, too. And now Nadia and her teammates coming out for the finale here, which is going to be a little Romanian folk dance. Well, a little smile from Nadia. Looks like she may enjoy this one.
I think she's having a pretty good time out here. Jim, I wonder if they use this in their training program. Maybe this is part of their dance training.
You'll notice as they go through this dance, when they get closer together, that Nadia has now become the tallest one on her team.
It's amazing how you can also become the oldest member of the team in a matter of 2 years. A little talking there.
I think Nadia calls signals for the group.
I think so. I'm sure that this will be their national team in the next Olympics.
Is there a possibility that she could become too tall by the time of the Montreal Games? Excuse me, the Moscow Games of the next one?
I think that she probably has done all the growing she's going to do. Maybe she'll be able to limb a little bit more and gain a little more strength. Jim, I think she's even wearing a little more makeup.
Right.
Wonder how many people could do this in their country that weren't gymnasts or dancers of some kind.
Well, that'll be it for this day. Nadia Comaneci in Madison Square Garden. This is Jim McKay with Kathy Rigby Mason, and that's the story from here.
Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United built the largest airline in the free world around you.